Thank you so much for the question. Virtualization is actually a foundational technology that allows businesses to maximize their hardware and increase operational agility. And um, for this question, I would also love to break down the core components and share how I will apply it in our environment. So, a virtual machine is actually divided into four key components. First is the host machine, which is actually the physical server in the data center with real CPU, RAM, and storage. Then the second is the most critical part, which is the hypervisor. And this hypervisor is like the software layer that act as a traffic cop. It sits between the physical server and the physical hardware and the virtual machine itself, carrying up like the physical resources and keeping each VM completely isolated from the others. Then the third one is the vital resources. So the vital resources are actually presented to to the hypervisor, to the VM. So it believes that it has its own dedicated CPU, memory, and hard drive. Then the fourth core component of the virtual machine is actually the guest operating system. So this is like the operating system. It could either be Windows, Linux that is installed directly on the virtual machine itself. So in the context of a business setting, if I were to manage our infrastructure, I would actually leverage virtualization in three specific ways. First is the server consolidation to cut costs. So instead of us, buying 10 physical servers for 10 different applications and, having to only make use of 10% of those computing powers of those softwares or of those physical servers, I would rather buy one robust physical server and run 10 virtual machines on it so that would actually help me to drastically reduce hardware procurement and electricity and even cooling costs. Secondly, I would apply virtualization in accelerating development. So if the business in the business setting now, if the development team needs a new environment, they don't need to wait weeks for hardware delivery. I can spin up a new VM in minutes, and that would mean that they can carry out major snapshots before a major software development is being rolled out. We can take a snapshot of the virtual machine, and if it fails, we can roll back to the previous state, preventing any sort of downtime. Then, finally, utilizing virtualization in a business setting, I would also use it for disaster recovery. So, and in terms of disaster recovery, it means that if a physical server fails, we don't have to wait for replacement parts. We can simply move those VM files to another server and boot them up. So, in short, virtualization removes hardware limitation. It allows us to cut costs. It allows us to deploy faster, and it also helps us to build resilient infrastructure. Thank you.